Welcome to True You Ministries with pastoral counselor Stacy Echeverria. Stacy is a licensed pastoral counselor whose own journey has taught her the importance of having a safe place to discuss the harder issues of life. We are grateful that you've joined us for this week's broadcast. You can learn more about Stacy and her heartfelt desire to help people, much like yourself, who may be at a place of pain and confusion, by calling her at 626-461-3344. That's 626-461-3344. Or feel free to email her at info@trueyouministries.com. Yes, this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice in it. This is a great opportunity for all of our listeners. Welcome to True You Ministries, and welcome, Stacy.
Thank you, Todd. It's good to be here.
Oh, and it's so great to have you, and I'm so blessed to be a part of this program. Now, the title of today's show, or the topic of today's show, is Why Do I Do the Things I Don't Want to Do? Where did you come up with that topic, Stacy, or that title?
Yeah, well, that's scripture. So that's in Romans 7, where Paul says, why do I do the things that I don't want to do, and I don't do the things that I want to do? That's at the crux of the matter.
All right, I thought it sounded familiar. And now, for all of our listeners just joining us, the True You Ministries, Stacy, can you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself? Give a little bit of background before we get into the meat and potatoes.
Yeah, I'd love to. Well, I am a California native, lived in New York for about 7 years. My parents moved us way across country to the other coast when I was 7, and that was hard. That was really, really hard. Transitions are hard, and especially when you're a 7-year-old, you're leaving everything you know, and off you go to a place that you know nothing about. So lived there for 7 years, moved back to California, and transitions again. So again, those transitions were not handled well. I came from a family of origin where both of my parents were so wounded and so hurt from their own family of origin that all they knew how to do was cope with anger. They didn't know how to process their pain. And so as a kid, I tended to isolate quite a bit because there was a lot of pain in my family of origin. And we never processed things well. And so I isolated. I loved to read in my room. And those experiences really formed who I am today. I'm not upset about it. I'm not mad about it. I am grateful that even though there was so much trauma and pain in my earlier years, in my childhood, it's really helped me become the person that I am today in terms of being strong. I don't give up. I persevere, and I'm always wanting to know why and how. How can I do things differently? How can I be different? Be the person that God created me to be, and just figuring out the why of things. So that's just a teensy bit about me.
Well, going through those hard times and difficulties there in an early age, where did you find hope? And can you tell us a little bit about your spiritual journey?
Yeah, so hope and my spiritual journey didn't come until my 20s and 30s. My parents were not people of faith. Although I come from a background where my mom was Armenian and my dad was Jewish, the faith was not integral to their lives at all. So that left me wandering around, trying to figure out what is my place in this world? How do I fit in? Because I never, ever felt like I fit in anywhere, especially within my family. I always felt like I was an outsider. I was different. Let's face it, I was weird. So it's what it is.
Some of us can relate to that.
And there's nothing wrong with being weird. God can work with that too. So I was in a lot of pain in my early 20s in college, a year where I was feeling suicidal. I never really did anything about that. I just didn't know how to deal with my pain. So I was on this journey of believing that there had to be something better than this. It couldn't just be me all by myself. And so fast forward, I decided to go back to dance classes. So I have a background in dance. I have a background in theater. And a friend of mine asked me if I wanted to take dance classes. And I said, yeah, I'd love to. what kind of dance are we going to be learning now? And she's like, flamenco. And I went, okay, let's go. Well, she never made it, but I met a woman in my dance class who knew the Lord. I'd met Christians along the way, but this gal, there was something so authentic about her. And I was ready because I was asking those questions, what is the meaning of life? What's my purpose? What purpose do I have? And so for 18 months, I asked her questions, and she was just so patient and so kind. And Jordan and I are still friends today. That's 27 years later. And when I was done asking all the questions that I asked after 18 months and really seeing her live out the authentic Christian walk, and I won't share her story, but there was a lot of pain in her own story. And yet there was this joy that she had that I couldn't understand, but I knew I wanted that. And so with her just ministering to me, I said yes. And then she discipled me for 2 more years. And that's when I came to learn that the joy that she had was the joy of the Lord. And regardless of what was going on in life, you can have the joy of the Lord. And so, so I was able to have that. And I'm so grateful and so appreciative to her for, the time that she invested in me.
Well, the Lord puts people in our life for a reason. He put her in your life and you in hers. And what a blessing that you found each other.
Yeah.
And we are going to get into more about the meaning of this program and the tools that you're going to provide the listeners. And but before we get to that, I want people to know that you are listening to True You Ministries. This is going to be a weekly broadcast here on the Salem Network channel. To reach Stacy, if you later on in the broadcast you hear you'd like to reach out for some of her consultation or whatnot, you can reach Stacy. It's real easy. You can call her at 626-461-3344. That's 626-461-3344, or email Stacy at info@trueyouministries.com. And you're offering a free 20-minute consultation, is that right?
Yes, I do. For everyone that calls who's interested in counseling, they get 20 minutes free with me.
Wow, that's awesome. Nothing's free nowadays. So please, listeners, take advantage of that. So Stacy, can you tell us a little bit? I want to ask 2 questions. I want to ask how you got into pastoral counseling and what's the difference between a regular counselor and a pastoral counselor. But first, can you tell us how you got into pastoral counseling?
Yeah, so that was a call that the Lord had on my life a long time ago, even before I had an awareness of him. But my life took a side road, a winding journey, if you will. I spent many years in entertainment. Lord moved me out of that. But I always had a heart for wanting to help people. And so then after the entertainment industry, I spent 10 years in human resources. And I said, Lord, I need to be doing something else because that's not my passion. I can do it, but it's not my passion. And I want to be able to get back into helping hurting people heal. So long story short, in 2013, he started giving me the nudge to go back to school. And I said, okay, but where? Where do I go? And so I was researching a lot of different schools, a lot of different programs. And there was a gal in my Bible study who was a semi-retired marriage and family therapist. And she had said to me, you should be a counselor. And I said, well, I've been thinking about it. I would love to talk with you about it. And so she said to me, if she could do it over again, she would not be a licensed marriage and family therapist. And I asked her why. And this was key. And she said, because as a state licensed therapist, she could not initiate anything of faith. She couldn't initiate prayer with her clients. She couldn't initiate talking about the Bible or sharing scriptures with them. It had to be client-led. And I said to her, that does not work for me because Jesus is at the center for me in my life. And I know that he's at the center of healing. And so then I started doing some research and found an online program for pastoral counseling. So all of my counseling is Bible-based. So that's the pastoral counseling side of it. I'm licensed as a pastor, but I use that licensing to counsel people. So that's how I kind of got into it. So just the Lord showing me. So it took 5 years to figure it out. And then I went to school, got my bachelor's degree, got my master's degree, got my licensing as a pastor. And about 3 years ago, I started doing it full time. I said, Lord, this is what you've called me to. And I'm just going to take that step of faith and fully commit to my practice. And I trust him to grow my practice and bring the people to me that want the help that I do offer.
And I'm sure, I mean, what a blessing you are to your clients. So,
Yeah,
and I can't imagine, I'm sure secular counseling's fine and it could help some people a little bit or whatnot, but I can imagine not doing it with Jesus. You know, our foundation, you take your foundation out from underneath you, you're going to fall. So
exactly.
doing it with one hand tied behind your back, that's got to be hard. So that's great that you can offer that to people with faith. Now, what are some of the counseling opportunities that you provide for your clients? What is some of the areas of expertise that you provide?
Right. So I love working with individuals. I work with men and women. I work with individuals. I work with couples who are married. Doesn't matter how long you've been married. And I also work with people who are engaged and are wanting premarital counseling as well. And the different things that people come to me for, the different struggles, is varied. If there's an area where I don't have the training or the knowledge, I will refer people out. But I primarily work with people on helping them figure out why do they do the things that they don't want to do. So once we identify that, then that means we have to go back into our childhood, really, before we can launch them forward. So with my family of origin, my coping mechanism was anger. That's what I learned. But I didn't realize it until I was much older and I started doing this work, that I have to go back in order to allow myself to go forward and move forward in that health. And that's what I walk my clients through. Doesn't matter what they come to me for. It could be, well, we're really not getting along. He doesn't understand me, or, you know, she just wants to do what she wants to do, or there's all these disagreements. And underneath all of that, there is unresolved pain. And so that's what I work with my clients around, unresolved pain, and having them experience Jesus in the healing process.
That's great. Now, is there something if somebody doesn't really know what the underlying issue is, but something's just not right in their life, they feel like they're not themselves anymore, or, you know, a little bit of depression, but they may not even know what the problem is. Can they just come to you and figure out what the problem is? Or do they need to know the problem before coming to you?
A lot of the times my clients will come to me, they think they know, they've identified what the problem is. And then we start doing this work together and the Lord reveals something way deeper, and it could be something completely different than what they thought. So that's a lot of the work that we do. And they don't have to know. They can have an idea or not know at all. And I have a process that I walk them through, and we'll get to the root of it if they commit to doing that work.
And I know you deal with people, you know, all varies of different tragedies and disorders and things that are affecting somebody. And if somebody's gone through a real tragic event in their life, I know that's at some point, that's when people may question their faith and may have some wavering in there. Is that okay? Is it, you know, if somebody's, maybe their faith isn't as strong as it once was? I mean, do they need to come to you in full 101%, you know, faith roaring and steaming out their ears? Or is it okay if they're coming with some wavering into your office?
It is totally okay for them to come with some wavering. That's part of walking out our salvation and our faith. It really is. And I don't want anyone who is wavering or even questioning who God is to feel any kind of guilt or shame, because he knows your heart and he wants you to know who he is. And so asking those questions and even those doubts, as long as you don't give up and you pursue answers, he will answer and he'll show himself. And he does all the time. He's so faithful to do that.
Well, once again, if you're just tuning in, this is Stacy Echevarria. She is a pastoral counselor. This is True You Ministries. If you'd like a free 20-minute consultation, it's real easy to contact Stacy. You can call her at 626-461-3344 or email info@trueyouministries.com. Now, Stacy, can you tell, what do people need to be ready for when they come into counseling? What does it look like? Can you kind of give kind of the basics of what do they need to be ready for when they come to see you?
Yes. So first of all, they don't have to have it all figured out, because if they do, they don't need me. So that's number one. I want my listeners to hear that what is really required, if you will, in the counseling arena is to ask yourself, am I ready for this? Am I ready for the hard work of counseling, the hard and painful work of healing? Because it is painful. When I started my journey of healing, I was so gung-ho, and then I was feeling so much of the pain. I thought to myself, what did I do? I can't believe how painful this is. But I knew I could not give up. So make sure you're ready for it, and know that there's a lot of work involved, but it will be so worth it in the end. Secondly, why do you want counseling? Some people will come maybe because maybe they've been in counseling before and they're wanting someone else to bounce things off of. That could be time consuming, and it could cost a lot of money. So really get clear about what your why is. Why do you want counseling, right? I'm not that counselor that will let you stay where you're at or want you to stay where you're at, but there needs to be measurable progress in this process, right?
Okay.
You're doing the work, you're experiencing some freedom, you're experiencing healing. I'm seeing it, there's traction. So know your why. Why do you want counseling? What areas of your life is causing you pain? And you're saying to yourself, I do not want to be in this pain any longer. That's when you've hit rock bottom, and now you need to change.
And isn't that, they say a lot of times it takes hitting rock bottom for somebody to make the change? And is that because of the motivation? Because I think maybe it's like, you go to a gym and you're not accountable for, so maybe you get on the treadmill, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Oh, that was good enough, a slow pace. But if someone comes in and they're struggling, you're almost like a personal trainer at the gym where I say, no, these are the steps you got to do. You got to be on for this much time. And I heard you mention before, there has to be progress.
Yes.
So that's good that you're, not in a negative way. You're not a drill sergeant, but you are pushing for progress.
Absolutely. And I also want people to know that I will be with you every step of the way, but I cannot care more about your healing or commit more to your healing than you do. So that requires your buy-in, right? You've got to be fully committed, not 10%, not 95%, but 100% committed. And I will be 100% committed and with you every step of the way, helping you to figure it out. But I cannot do the work for you. That's not possible. I cannot care more about it than you do. So that means you have to invest time into doing your work. And trust me when I tell you that if you come to a client session with me and you haven't done your homework, I'm going to know. And you don't want me to know that, because I'll call you out on it. Say, hey, what's going on? You're not answering the questions here. You're not doing this. You're not doing that. What's going on in your life, right? There has to be some consistency. So I'll work hard if you work hard as well.
Okay. All right. And so, working hard with the clients, some of the thing would be, some practical steps to help your clients around some of false beliefs that are in their heads. Right. How do you go about that?
Right. So that's a process in and of itself. So I work through a workbook with them that has all of that. Right. And so a couple things just really quick. There's an entire lesson on that. The things that we've been told from childhood, right? You'll never amount to anything. Your value is in your looks, or I'm stupid, or no one would ever love you. Right. And so that tends to really, when that takes root, we end up behaving in ways that tell the world I am stupid, or I'm not valuable, or I'm not worthy of love or care, right? And so once my clients identify, oh yeah, that resonates for me, then that healing process can start. And so in order to counter a false belief, we've got to go to the truth. And there's only one truth, and that's God's word.
Yeah.
And so it's, well, what will counter that lie that says no one will love you? Well, my goodness, read scriptures all throughout. It's a love story to his creation. How much God the Creator loves his creation. He's never far from us. He'll never leave us nor forsake us. We're fearfully and wonderfully made. We're a royal priesthood. We've been adopted, right, into his family. He chose us. I mean, the depth and breadth of God's love is mind-blowing. So the false belief, identify it, and then start looking to scripture that never, ever changes. It's rock solid.
That's what a lot of people need, is just something rock solid in their life. And what a blessing you are. And of course, Jesus can, we can do all things through Christ. So we got to take that first step. And if you need help, you got to seek help. And, the Lord puts our Christian brothers and sisters right in front of us, and there's a reason why. And so if somebody's listening today and you're hurting, or somebody in your family that's hurting and that could use some help, reach out to Stacy. And it's really easy to reach out to her, and she's offering a free 20-minute consultation. You cannot beat free. Call Stacy at 626-461-3344 or email info@trueyouministries.com. Now, we just have a few minutes left. And this is a great broadcast. I'm so excited to have this part of our station, because I got into radio and Christian radio because I love helping people. And the thought of, people out there listening and using you as a resource just gets me really excited. And it, what a payoff for me to be a part of this. But we just have about 2 to 3 minutes left. Could you just tell people out there, one more time, what can you help them with? And how do you incorporate Jesus in the help?
Yeah. So I can help anyone who wants to change, who is tired of being stuck. They're doing the same thing over and over and over again, trying to figure out how to change where they're at, but they're getting the same result. So, there's that saying, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result is the definition of insanity.
Sanity, yes.
Well, there's sanity right here, and I can help. That is, try something different. Just try something different. You're in pain. You want things to change. You cannot do it on your own. And so coming alongside with me, I am the guide, and Jesus Christ is the healer. And he speaks to the client's hearts. If they're listening, that'll be really, really key. And sometimes they may not want to hear what he's saying to them, but he's there, and he's gentle, and he's kind, and he loves you.
Well, what a great resource that, you're there. Jesus has always been there for us, but you're the resource to kind of put them all together and help us, change and change for better. You have to do some self-reflecting, like you said, and you got to do some work. So you got to be ready for work. Do they get homework? I'm curious. Do they get homework when they leave?
Yes, they do. See, we don't sit around chatting. So there is a workbook that I do assign, and we walk through the entire process together. It could take anywhere from 6 to 8 months to complete, learning all the tools, and then the work begins in terms of, okay, now you've learned all this. Apply it daily. And so they can check in with me. We can schedule sessions once a month for tune-up sessions here and there. But, at the end of 8 months, they will have learned all of the tools, a lot of the work, the beginnings of the healing work will have happened. And then now it's just daily consistency.
All right. And we're down to our last minute here, but I do want to touch on one of the things. Say, we live in such a technology advanced world. Do they need to come and see you in person, or can they do a video conference with you?
They can do both. It depends on where they live. And if I'm close to them, I can see them in person. Otherwise, on Zoom is another platform that I use.
Well, that's great. I'm sure there's some people that are raring to go with the technology, but still some people are old school like myself. I'd rather be, in person and see you. So that's great. I want to remind listeners, this is going to be a weekly broadcast. We're going to be here next week at the same time discussing a different topic. So this is a great resource for any of our listeners to use. Listen to the show. Call Stacy. She's offering a free 20-minute consultation. Real easy to reach her. 626-461-3344 or email Stacy at info@True Ministries. She would love to hear from you and help you. So, this has been a great show. I hope the listeners got some takeaways from this. I'm sure they did. This is just the start of the great things to come here. And what a blessing you are. And it's been a blessing to have you on today. Thank you so much, Stacy.
Thank you.
And to all the listeners, like I said, we'll be on next week at the same time. Make sure you stop by and listen. And if you missed any part of the show, Stacy will have this show up on her YouTube channel. So make sure you listen to the whole show there. Thanks again for listening.
You've been listening to True You Ministries with pastoral counselor Stacy Echeverria. Stacy is a licensed pastoral counselor whose own journey has taught her the importance of having a safe place to discuss the harder issues of life. You can learn more about Stacy and her heartfelt desire to help people much like yourself who may be in a place of pain and confusion by calling her at 626-461-3344. That's 626-461-3344. Or feel free to email her at info@trueyouministries.com. That email once again is info@trueyouministries.com. Thank you for listening to today's show. Tune in next week at the same time, and may God richly bless you.